Hi, welcome back to Talk of the Town. Well, we're going to learn a little bit about a local business. I'm talking with John Ryan, who is with Premier Paint and Wallpaper. Glad to have you today.
Thanks for having me.
So, lots of homeowners make mistakes. Even some of you professionals out there, we might learn some tips today. Let's talk a little bit about some of the differences between your company and others, because some companies are really talking about paint and primer together. So, what's different about what you do?
Yeah, so about 10 years ago, one of the brands at the big box store started marketing their paint as paint and primer, and kind of caught on. And so now a lot of the brands will advertise paint and primer in one, which we now have also. But it's really more of a marketing. So really what makes us different is the top of lines at the big box store, they're paint and primers in one, but then we kind of go up in quality from there. So technically about every one of our paints is a paint and primer in one.
Wow, wonderful. When I first met you, you were talking a little bit about sort of some of the differences and how you really carry a higher quality product. So let's talk about that. And where is that important? Is it important, say, in a bathroom, or where does it matter the most?
Yeah. So what we kind of do is we sell a little bit higher end paints, so you'd have less problems with the paint is hopefully the point of it. Inside, usually in like bathrooms or kitchen cabinets, you want a little bit higher end of a paint. Outside especially, you want a little bit higher quality paint just because the sun's going to deteriorate it. Inside, we tell people that the top of line, you're probably going to get sick of the color before it wears off on the walls. But in a bathroom, you may want to go with a little bit higher end of a paint, or even an oil-based paint is something that people commonly don't know about. Is if you take a lot of showers and things in the bathroom, the humidity can soften the water-based paint if it doesn't have time to dry. But if you go with an oil-based paint, you could use a shower right away.
Well, that's great. Now, I have to say, I'm attracted to the idea of the higher quality paint because I've been one of those consumers, homeowners, who's had someone come in and paint, and it's been weeks or even just a couple months before there's problems and issues with the paint. So let's talk a little bit about that and moisture, how that can affect it, and some of those things.
Yeah. So you always want to wash your walls before painting, inside or outside. But the moisture in the walls, inside you kind of have to worry about, but it's mostly a sealed surface, so you won't really have a whole lot of issue of trapping moisture in the wall. But outside's where it's more important. If you power wash your siding or you get a big rainstorm, so much moisture usually in the wood and other things that you don't want to trap the moisture in the wood, so you want to give it plenty of time for it to dry out before you paint it, prime it, or stain it.
Okay, and let's talk a little bit more about special preparation for outside surfaces, because that's an area I know nothing about. I'd love to learn what it takes to get a house ready to paint outside.
Sure, yeah. Outside prep is probably 80% of the work. You can put the best paint on outside of the house, but if it's not on a good surface underneath, the sun, the elements will deteriorate it and make it all peel off. So the biggest thing that people probably don't do is sanding the wood before. If you have raw wood, to remove the dead, decayed, damaged wood. And also sanding with coarse sandpaper opens up the pores of the wood, so the stain can soak in even more, or the primer soak in better, less chance of it peeling outside.
And you mentioned a little bit earlier about water-based and oil-based paints in bathrooms. Is that a factor for outside? What do you go with?
Yeah, so outside, especially on horizontal surfaces like decks and handrails, oil-based does a better job at soaking in. It doesn't soften like in Wisconsin winters with the snow sitting on it, freezing, thawing. And the latex, the snow can kind of get underneath and freeze and peel it off. Or an oil-based is less likely for it to happen. So horizontal surfaces, oil-based, oil on siding will work, but you can use a latex paint on siding. You
are just a wealth of information. The last question, tip for you before we go. Let's talk about application. When you're applying a paint or a stain, give us some pointers.
Yeah, so the rule of thumb is that the best way is brushing it. Brushing, you put a heavier coat on, you push it into all the nooks, the crevices, put it on a little bit more even. Rolling gets it done faster, but where you first put the roller, it's nice and heavy. Where you roll it out, it's technically a little bit thinner. Inside, you don't notice it, but outside, you can. And then spraying's the fastest way, but you still want to come back and brush it in. You just get a lot of material on the surface fast, but you don't put it on well enough for what we recommend.
So go behind yourself after the spray.
Yep.
I learned a lot. That was great. So if you're looking for a do-it-yourself project, or even professionals out there, I think you're always up for learning more. And these guys have a lot of information. So make sure you go see them over at Premier Paint and Wallpaper, and some great high-quality products for you. Thanks for being with us and sharing that.
Thank you. Can I
Appreciate
just say
it.
hi to Carter and Heidi, and I hope you sleep in bed tonight. Thank you.
And a dad at home. I love it. And you work with your father, too. I love it. So
Yep.
great family here as well. It's John Ryan, Premier Paint and Wallpaper. Thanks to all of our guests for joining us. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Talk of the Town.